don't think those are real seconds. I think it lies.
That's
How's it going, Tim?
I'm doing well. How are you, Steve?
I'm doing very well myself. Thank you for asking. So I'm sure the first thing people are wondering, are these guys related? Is Tim my son, or are they brothers? The answer is no. We may have met once before at an Autotask event. No, we did meet.
You did meet, yeah.
I just wasn't there.
Yeah, you don't remember it. I remember it, but you don't remember it. That's okay.
There was a ship, a boat involved.
Yes.
And gosh, who did that? That was BVoIP did that, right? So it was George Bardisi, and then I think George had a couple other vendors that they all kind of worked together to make that happen. But yeah, man, that was a good time.
It was a lot of fun down there in Fort
Lauderdale. I'm told I had a great time.
I only had to pull you out of the drink twice, so or out of the water.
Oh boy. Oh boy. All right. So for those of you that are extra confused, welcome. Here's the second stream for the day of the RocketMSP Podcast. I am joined by Tim Taylor, and Tim is an MSP consultant, and he still runs an MSP. So Tim, why don't you fill us in a little bit more about, I don't know, just you in general, and
Sure.
And give us an idea of why you're so smart and good at this.
Yeah.
And then for those of you that have questions or anything, feel free to pop it in the comments. I am able to see and interact, and Tim, you can see and interact with all of that too.
Sure.
Now that we're using this fancy new tool.
Yeah, feel free to ask questions, guys. No problem, guys and girls. Well, like I said, Tim Taylor. I have a brother named Steve Taylor. Just funny enough, but he's an attorney up in Memphis. I grew up in Memphis, Tennessee. Got married right out of college in the you'll guess my age here in a minute, but in the early '80s, and moved to California. I worked for a large nonprofit out there for a number of years, and I came in as a mainframe programmer. The PC was invented the year I graduated from college, so I was programming mainframes in college. Moved to California, was a mainframe programmer, but right before I moved, I actually worked at a little microcomputer company. Again, they were brand new, for about 6 months or 6 to 8 months. And I worked on VAX system, data generals, PDP-11s, PDP-8s, you name it, we worked on it. And the IBM PC was just coming out. And there was a lot of machines before the IBM PC. They ran CP/M operating system. It was an 8-bit operating system, and the PC was a 16-bit operating system. So there was COBOL and other languages for those 8-bit machines. And so there was a lot of individual machines like that back then. But then the PC came out, and I moved to California, mainframe programmer, and then suddenly somebody walked into the IT department I worked in and said, hey, does anybody know anything about PCs? The president's office wants a word processor. So I said, well, I know how to set one up, and so I set that one up with a printer, a daisy wheel printer, and then somebody else wanted one, and then somebody else wanted one, and then suddenly I became the microcomputer department. Now, there were no networks back then. Everything was in DOS, and I installed, within a year of that date, I'd installed 50 machines. Within a year of that date, we had 150 machines, and we started building Novell networks. And the challenge we had at this headquarters, it was in 16 different buildings spread over 7.5 miles. So every single building had its own network. Sometimes even just an apartment had their own network. And you couldn't connect but like 16 or so machines per network. So it was crazy. And then network came out with 386, where you could have up to 250 machines on a single network. So we started stringing the buildings together with coax cable, and we built a big network. And that was my introduction to PC networking. And we were making this up as we went along. There was no training. There was no, you could call Novell on the phone and get a little help, but it was pretty much figure it out on your own. So I was with that organization until 91. They moved to Florida. And they moved to Florida in 91. And I was with them until 97, when my third child was born. And it was like, this is a nonprofit. The salaries were very low. I need to do something else. So I worked for a small IT firm for a year, and it was just me and the owner. And I suddenly realized why about 25 different people had worked for this guy over the last 5 years, because nobody could work with him. And I always say that was in my career, that was the worst year of my life, but it was also the best year because it made me start my own company. And every time it got hard when I started my own company, I would remember back what it was like working for him. And I said, I am not going back to that. There's just like no way. I don't care if I had to dig ditches on the weekend to make ends meet. I'm going to make ends meet. When I started my MSP, I was 40 years old. I had 3 kids. I had a mortgage. I had 2 car payments, $500 in the bank, and a wife that did not work outside the home. So I had to make it work. There was no choice. And I got a client that gave me about 20 billable hours a week. And I walked into a law firm next door and got that client and just started my business. Okay. And so we're now 21 years in business. We have, 15 employees, and we maintain over 2,000 machines here in Central Florida. So, but I saw a need early on. When I started my company in 99, I looked for a book, how to start and run a successful IT company, and I couldn't find it. I said, somebody had to have written this book. This got to be out there. 99, there was no such book. And I found a book on starting a computer store. It was the best I could find. And I said, by God, one day I'm going to write that book. And around 2014, 2015, it was many years later, I finally just wrote down all the chapters one day. I let it sit for a long time, and then finally I got enough gumption to start actually writing it, and then it turned into a huge project, and I finally got it all finished. So I published How to Start and Run a Successful IT Company. It's on Amazon, Kindle download, Audible. I got the whole thing. I paid a voice actor to record it, and so it was it was something that I really wanted to do, that I felt like the community really needed. And I thought, well, if I'm going to write this book, why don't I help other MSPs at the same time? So I started Tim Taylor Consulting Group, and I take on individual consultees. I'm starting some groups as well. But if you're struggling in your practice, if you're new, if you don't know what you should do, if you've been doing it for a long time and you're stuck and it's just you and maybe one other part-time guy, I can help you move forward to that next level, because we've done it. You know what I mean? We started with ConnectWise, we moved to AutoTask 2 or 3 years ago. And so we've done some major jumps. Big Data Partner, all the products you guys use, we use them every day. So, if I can help anybody, that's what I'd like to do. And, it's just been a long ride, and it's been fun. I enjoy computers. My funnest job ever in IT was programming. I really enjoyed that the most. But, you're locked in a room and, or you just stare at a screen all day. And to me, I'm a little bit more interactive. I want to get out there with people. I have a degree in business management with a minor in marketing, so I really wanted to start my own business. But that's pretty much me in a nutshell, and I've enjoyed every minute of it.
Very cool. So the name of the book is How to Start and Run a Successful IT Company Without Losing Your Shirt.
Right.
And thankfully the cover has a shirt on.
Yeah. Somebody told me to put a cover on there with a guy with no shirt on. It would definitely get attention. But anyway, I thought it might get the wrong kind of attention.
It might. Now, I see a much darker beard. Is that a picture of you in
that was
a couple years ago?
On the back cover. That's actually a fairly new picture.
No, I mean on the front cover with the shirt on.
Oh, that isn't me. No, that's not me. No, that's not me. The back cover, there's a little picture of me, but yeah, no, that was a stock photo that we got somewhere. I paid a lady to design the cover, and so we've sold hundreds of copies of them all over the world. I had people, when I first came out with it, I didn't have a Kindle version or an Audible version, and I was shipping them to Japan, to Ireland, to India, you name it, and sometimes the shipping was more expensive than the book, but
wow.
Lots of copies all around the world, and I've had guys contact me. There was a day when I talked to somebody in England and Australia in the same day. They just reached out and wanted to talk. So, but again, I run my own MSP every day, and I do this, on Fridays usually is when my consulting day. That's usually Thursday afternoon and Fridays. I usually do consulting, and I just really like helping people. And I've done everything that you can do. I've made every mistake you can make in this business, from not charging enough to hiring bad employees. So I love helping people, and I've been in most everybody's shoes, and I'm probably older than most of the people running an MSP today. So my experience with life in general, if I can help someone there, I'd be happy to do that. So
Very cool. All right. So you said, if I recall correctly, you said that you've got 2,000 endpoints you're managing.
mhm.
So what tools are you using?
We're using Autotask as our PSA. We use the Datto, it's now Datto Autotask, whatever. The Datto RMM. We use WebRoot for AV. We're looking at some more cyber tools like Huntress and looking at them called Blackpoint Cyber. We're definitely looking at those very heavily. We have been fairly lucky. We've only had a few clients get hit with ransomware, but we have Dattos on every network. I just won't put a network in without one. Now, there are other products you can get, StorageCraft. You can manage it all yourself. You can set up a thing where you upload images, but it's just so much work to do that. Where Datto does all that for you, that, the Datto might be a little more expensive. It's kind of the Mercedes or Cadillac, but I think it's well worth it. And you can get small devices. Datto has some very small devices that are inexpensive to back up smaller networks, and you can move all the way up. I've sold a 40 terabyte Datto before. And so, a place had tons of servers and lots of backup needs. And so I sold two 20 terabyte Dattos to a big place that had a number of servers, and I didn't want to put all of that on one Datto. So we sold them two big Dattos. So I'm a big proponent of them. Obviously, we were with ConnectWise for a long time. We decided to move to Autotask. And then right after we made the decision to move to Autotask, I heard that Autotask and Datto were merging. And I thought, oh, that's perfect, because I was already a big Datto partner. So, that's basically our tools. We have a lot of other little things that we use, but that's our core stack there.
Very cool. So, so you're on the Datto platform. Are you using Datto's other tools? Like, are you doing like Datto networking and Datto? What do they call it? Is it Datto Workplace? Their Dropbox like tool and that type of stuff?
Yeah, they have that. We are just now starting to get, they had a deal at the end of the year where you could get some of their hardware, some of their networking tools just basically free or almost free. Of course, the one thing some people don't like about Datto is there is a monthly fee tied to every one of their products, like even a switch. Okay.
That wouldn't be so bad if you could just like have some in inventory and not be paying for them yet.
Right. I think they give you X amount of time to enable it and start the billing, but I'm not positive on that. I do like this, and I do know a guy in California, and I've talked to him once. He went to his general practitioner doctor, and the doctor said, I want to set up some COVID testing clinics. And he started setting them up for this doctor, and this doctor has just exploded. And this guy's ordering Datto switches and firewalls like constantly. I mean, just like a steady stream of them. I mean, he's opened up like 15 more clinics in the next month. And then a month after that, they're going to try to do 15 more. They're getting all over the West. There's like 4 or 5 states they're in already. Okay. But what they like about the Datto DNA firewall basically is the built-in cellular backup internet, because they were putting these COVID clinics, they're COVID testing clinics in sometimes mall spaces, things like that, where the internet isn't always so good. So they love the fact that it had the backup cellular, data internet. And he just buys them for them, configures them. They even have their own team that goes out and installs them. And he's just sitting there billing them every minute for those Datto products. So it's been very profitable for him. But, I've heard of people, like a guy got an account with a bunch of gas stations or Wawa stations or whatever, up and down some state, and he was putting those Datto DNAs in every one of them because it had backup internet just built right in. It just kicks on the minute your internet goes out. And I know that a lot of other firewalls, you can put an external thing on there and do the same thing, but it's built in. I think it's just like, I don't know, it's X amount per month for unlimited data for the cellular side. So I know people have had good luck with them. It's not a huge product for Datto, but it's become one. So, we're going to check them out ourselves. We've always been SonicWall firewalls, and but we got one of their DNAs here. We're going to test it out for ourselves in our office and see how it goes.
I know that one of the general complaints, if you will, with those DNA units is that they charge a whole lot of money for that thing because you got to pay for the LTE,
Right.
and some people just don't care about the LTE, and that's
Right.
a little frustrating for some people. Thoughts
Sure.
on that? Is that like a feature you're actually excited to use, the LTE?
Well, I think that they have one that has it and one that doesn't. So if you're selling it to a client, I think it's like $100 a month. Now that's not cheap, but it's $100 a month for the failover LTE. Okay, so you just tell the client, do you want this? Do you want to failover? Charge them $150. You charge them whatever you think they can bear, and it's automatic failover if your internet goes out. Test it in front of them. Walk up to them, pull out the internet connection, and say, go, try to keep browsing and see what happens. It's now using this. Now let me put the cable modem or whatever connection back into it, and you'll see that it goes back on there automatically. But it's the customer's decision. If they want to pay for it, let them pay for it. If you don't need it, you don't need it. So I think they have two models, one that has it and one that doesn't. I'm not positive of that, but I think they do.
And I'll say this, if they made it easy for us to get like a demo model or something like that,
Right.
then maybe it wouldn't be such a difficult. I
try.
guess in my opinion, it's like a difficult sell when there's. I don't want to spend $100 a month just to have a demo unit,
Right. Well, what you could do is, I think they have a 90-day return policy.
Yeah.
You could, if you could, in theory, you could tell the client about it and say, look, I want to bring it here and show it to you. Then you've got 90 days to return if the client decides not to get it. So I think that's one way to do it. You could also talk to your data rep. I mean, just say, look, this is what I'd like to have one that I could take around and demo for people. What can you do for me if I commit to buying as many of these as I can? I don't know. And you could ask. You never know what could happen.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
Yeah, some people have done really well with them, and we're going to take a hard look at them this year.
Good.
Yeah.
Well, good. And this is I'm not like intentionally being critical of Dado or what
Sure.
you're doing or anything,
Sure.
but I always like to try and be like, devil's advocate, if you will.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
When doing this with people.
Yeah.
So
no,
all right. So
and there's lots of products out there, and just find a family of products that you really love. We've always loved Sonic Walls. They're very good. There's a wide range of them, and they seem to work. They last for a long time. So just know the products that you sell. Okay, really know that product. And I was the head technician for a long time. I'm no longer a technician. I own the company. I even have a general manager that kind of runs most of the day-to-day operation. But that allows me to do some consulting and also do selling, which is what I do the most. But no, I mean, I'm not the guy in there installing them anymore. So so the technical details specifically right now, I'm not necessarily going to know.
All good. All right. So it sounds like your company is a big fan of Dado, and I think that's warranted. They do a fantastic job of making products that MSPs want to use.
Yeah.
And I also think that their development is still doing a good job of, continuing to make improvements and that type of stuff. I love the new interface that they're making for the RMM.
Yeah.
I don't know how much you actually get to use the new interface and how often you end up having to go into the old interface, but I mean it looks really cool when you get to use the new interface. That's for sure. Yeah,
I know they're really working on it. They have a large team in there that really works hard on that. And one thing I think anybody that uses Dado should take advantage of, and as soon as COVID's over, if that ever happens, Dado has a really liberal marketing. They call it development funds, and you can do like a lunch and learn in your city, and Dado will basically pay for the whole thing if they're the main presenter. Okay, basically, we did one of these about 2 years ago. Okay, and then we did another one last year. All right. So basically, I kept hearing about these marketing development funds from Datto. So I reached out. They had a guy reach out to me and say, blah, blah, blah. If you can get at least 25 or 30 people there, they will send a Datto guy in and he'll give a phenomenal talk. Okay. And so I said, I'm going to do my best to get 25 or 30 people there. I worked my butt off for about 3 or 4 or 5 months and just invited. And when I got right down to it, I even invited basically everybody I know, all the other salespeople I know, whatever, anybody they would want to come. We had 75 people there. Okay. So we had a big lunch and learn. Datto guy came in. We had it really organized. It went really, really well. I even shot a video of one of our clients whose server had crashed, and we spun her up on the Datto, and she ran off the Datto all week. And then we put a new server in the next weekend. Okay. And she was talking about that experience and how Datto had, saved her. This was a medical practice that had 4 offices, and they all remoted into her main office, and they saw 2,000 patients a week. Okay. And they would have been down for a few days if we hadn't gotten back up. They were down for 1 hour. We spun them up on the Datto after their domain controller crashed. It was also running another database. And so basically, the Datto guy was very impressed, and he liked what we did. And I spoke a little bit there, and I got the gift of gab. And so he said, would you be willing to go on the road and do road shows with us for Datto? Because you seem to really like the product. And I said, I wouldn't mind. They pay all my expenses or whatever. And I've actually done some of their road shows where they will go in and do a presentation to MSPs. And then I'm an MSP. They take me to outside of my area, nobody that I would compete with. And so I go in and I speak as an MSP that owns, that uses Datto every day. And so that's been really fun. I've enjoyed doing that. A couple times I was able to take my wife with me. And so I was hoping to do some of those in 2020, but it didn't materialize. But also when I'm there, I mention that I'm a consultant and I have a few copies of my book. And, I say, guys, if I can help you out, I'd love to do that. That's not the main reason I'm here. But if you want to talk to me afterwards, you can. And so I've picked up some consulting clients from doing those Datto road shows. And they've been a lot of fun.
Good for you. All right. So now let's talk about something a little less exciting.
Okay.
And a little less happy.
Okay.
Let's talk about security.
All right.
So what are you doing these days for securing your clients? I'm sure the onion, the multifaceted approach, blah,
yeah,
blah, blah.
That's a big topic. Okay, so what do you mean by securing? Okay, do you securing the email, securing the network, securing the email?
What is it? The 10,000 foot view. Just like what are you using a SOC? What kind of AV and endpoint protection? Are you doing DNS filtering? Just like. I don't, I'm not asking you how you configure it all.
Right.
Anyone can use the same tools and everyone can configure it differently, but
right.
I am curious, what are you doing to be a little more proactive with security for your clients?
Yeah. Well, one of the big things is you've got to educate your clients. Okay.
Absolutely.
You've got to really educate them. What's something stupid to do? Don't do this. Okay. If they're going to bring home computers into the office, no, we can't let you do that. You can't join a machine to the domain that we're not managing for you. We have the regular tools on machines, but we strongly encourage our people to get 2-factor authentication. I have it right here. Every time I log into my PC, I've got to confirm it on my phone, even in my office at my desk, even if the machine just goes to sleep because I haven't logged in or haven't used it for a few minutes, I still have to confirm through my phone.
You don't require 2-factor for any of your clients?
I'm not forcing it on them because it costs a couple of bucks, but I mean, it's only like $3 a user. So the smart ones are doing it. The people that are a little bit cheaper, I mean, ultimately, here's the thing. You're not going to stop every event that comes down the pike. You're just not going to be able to. I don't care what you put in place. Somehow, someone, if they're determined enough, they could get around it. Okay. Now, to get around it and get what is the question, and what type of business are they going to go after? John and Mary's hardware store, they're probably not going to mess with them. An insurance office, there's a lot of personal data there, but a title company that wire transfers money all the time, prime target. Okay, prime target. They have to at least be aware of all the products that you're offering. Okay, and some people even make them sign something. No, I don't want this. No, I don't want that. I don't want this. Okay, I do make my potential clients sign a document. I do not want a data backup, even though we almost won't allow that. That I am turning down the backup system that has been recommended to me by my MSP. Okay, and I understand that you could be down for a significant amount of time if your server crashes or you're hacked or whatever. Okay, so I think there's a plethora of products out there. It just has to be a combination of you working with the client, them to understand what these products do, how they work, what they cost, okay, and the risk that they're taking by not having them. And you could put so many products on a network, it won't even function anymore, okay? You don't want to do that. But at the same time, there is just risk involved today for the MSP, okay? If they have a major hack and they come after you, buddy, you better have a good contract, okay? And that's one thing I will say. Make sure if you have a contract, you obviously have a contract if you're an MSP, make sure that you have an attorney that understands cybersecurity. Take a hard look at that contract, okay? My contract's been modified over the years several times. And there are attorneys today that specialize in cybersecurity. So, it's a combination of training, trust, tools, and contracts, okay? And you've got to have the right combination of all of those things. And I think training is a big area that a lot of people are not focused on. ID Agent, I think it's a great product. It's not super expensive. You can do fake emails out to customers, and then you can tell the boss who's falling for these emails. And that's the people that are going to give away credentials and get people into the network. Okay, so I think products like that are somewhat underrated. I think more and more people need to be kind of forced into doing that. And doing dark web scans. Did you know your credentials are for sale on the dark web? No, I had no idea. Okay, so, end users are usually the place where people come in. That's where they get hacked. Okay, so speaking of title companies, just had a situation. A real estate agent that I know contacted me the other day. One of her lady was trying to buy one of the houses she was selling, and it was a friend of hers went down to the bank and wire transferred money to pay for the house. The next day she goes to the closing and they go, you need to wire transfer the money to pay for the house. She goes, I did that yesterday. And they go, no, you didn't. Some hacker had gotten in somewhere along the chain and sent her dummy emails pretending to be the title company. But had she looked on the address line, it said like titleclosings@gmail.com.
That's not good.
If she just looked at that, she would have seen it, but she didn't look. Nobody warned her. And she
lost all the money, didn't she?
She transferred $85,000. And that's all the money she had to buy that house.
Oh,
now,
God.
She was a little bit lucky. Somebody that she knew told her about somebody in the FBI. She called them. And at the bank that it went to, they caught it before the guy had withdrawn it all again, because they usually bounce it through a couple of banks. She lost some of it. We don't know how much yet. She'll probably get back. My guess is she'll probably get back like 65,000 out of her 85,000. But user training. Nobody.
It's an expensive lesson.
It is a very expensive lesson. And that is not the first time that I've heard that exact type thing happening by somebody buying a house. All of your customers in MSP, talk to the person. The person they're going to go after is the person who handles money in the company. That's who they're going to go after, because that's where they can get the biggest bang for the buck most quickly.
So I've heard of a guy who was managing funds for, I don't know, maybe investments, retirements kind of thing.
Yep.
And he was doing it the real smart way. And guys, those of you watching this live, feel free to put something in the comments, ask questions, tell stories, whatever you want to do. So this guy was managing investments, and there's like a process that you have to go through with the bank in order to do that. And his process was send an unencrypted email to like the bank manager. Hey, do something, something, something with $2.5 million or whatever. And the bank manager would just do it. So somebody hacked his email account, no 2FA, and sent an email to the bank manager. Hey, please wire, $18 million to this bank account. Bank managers did it.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
No forms, no
Yeah.
signatures,
Right.
no like 2FA or verification pin or anything. Bank managers did it. So I'm told that the bank is probably going to go out of business,
Hmm.
if I recall correctly. And also that guy's getting sued like a lot. He's getting sued a
No,
lot. He's getting
I don't.
super sued.
I don't doubt it. I don't doubt it. I know there's a law firm here in town that closing on some, a settlement agreement. They wire transferred the money. It was a couple of million, and or up to 4 million, I think, and went to the wrong place, and that law firm had to eat it, and it almost put them out of business.
Scary.
It is. It is. It's absolutely scary, and that to me seems like one of the biggest things that's happening right now. They want that quick payoff, wire transfer the money. We had one of our own clients, okay? Lady that wire transfers the money. She gets an email from the vice president, who's the president's son. Gets an email from the vice president that says, hey, we need to get this bill paid. There's a PDF attached. It's a bill for $30,000 for a background check on somebody. What the heck? She doesn't look at it. And she noticed it was a forward from the president of the company to the vice president, and then he forwarded it to her. She paid it. Only problem was the president never sent it to him, and he never sent it. So someone had hacked someone's email credentials along the way, and it got right to the lady that does wire transfers, and boom, she didn't ask anybody, just sent it. Okay.
I've always wondered, like, if I just sent an invoice to 100 companies, how many of them would pay it?
If you send an invoice for something that they buy regularly, like here's an invoice for your newest order of paper for the copier, $500, $1,000, whatever. Here's blah 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 blah. It all depends on how big the company is. It's kind of that medium to large company is probably the one that would pay it, because a really big company typically has enough money to hire people to watch out for that kind of stuff and to confirm everything. A medium-sized company with an overworked accounting staff, they're the ones likely to do it. So, yeah, I mean, there are people that are just sending dummy invoices all over the place, but the hackers have gotten smart. They know they need to make it look like a real email, and they're figuring out how to do it. So, all wire transfers have to be voice confirmed with somebody. Did you really send this? Is this really the right place to go? I think when that lady did the transaction, I was talking about the real estate transaction, and she went into the bank should have told her, have you confirmed all this information in here by voice with someone? So the bank isn't held liable because they're just doing what their member said to do. But
Absolutely.
I think they should require anybody that walks in to do a wire transfer that there's verbal confirmation. My wife and I just bought a house like 6 months ago, and I had to wire transfer money. And this lady called me from the title company and said, blah, 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 blah. And then I looked online, found the name of the title company and found their phone number. And I said, I am not going until I can confirm who you are and this is the right place. I'm not going to do this. And so I was able to confirm it all, and it was all in the up and up. But I mean, it just, it very well could have gone another way,
Huh. And that just kind of reminds me, like, why it's so important to do business with people that are local to you for some things. Like,
yeah,
I just want to go to the office and sit down and take care of this.
mm-hmm.
Because some of this stuff is just scary, man.
Yeah,
So,
it is.
So what are your thoughts on the SolarWinds stuff that's going on?
Well, if you look into
I'm asking everyone. So,
I'm not a big SolarWinds guy. I don't use their products. Okay. We have started looking at a couple of the backup things that they're doing because it's very cheap. You have a small client, doesn't want to buy data, blah, blah, blah. It is, you could do it. If you look at what actually got hacked, it wasn't supposedly their typical RMM. And the RMM didn't get hacked. It was like, I heard they hacked an update that went out to the RMM and allowed them to somehow get through on that. And they supposedly have a special RMM for large companies or something like that. And that's why so many of these Fortune 500 companies got caught up in this. I think they got caught. I mean, they didn't get caught. They got hacked. They didn't notice it. An update went out there and it caused a lot of problems. And the way they got caught was the hackers were trying to get some 2FA things approved. And somebody figured out those, they were hackers, and how they tunneled all the way back through to find out where this came from, I don't know. But I think that SolarWinds is hurting. I think they're going to have some real problems from this. However, it didn't affect the backup operations, and MSPs that use their backup go, oh, this, they probably should think about it more than they are. But I'm not using their products, so I just think it could have happened to a lot of other companies, and it may have happened to some other companies that hasn't been found out yet.
So just because you're not using their products, I mean, you're using their products. You just don't know it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because if you think about, what is it, like 80% of the Fortune 500 or Fortune 100, or like, it's a big number of all the biggest companies that they're using SolarWinds Orion products.
Right.
And now, we keep learning more and more. And, it looks like it was, Russian intel gathering, and, what are they gathering intel on?
Yeah.
They accessed Microsoft's source code. So yeah, sure. I mean, you weren't using SolarWinds, but they just accessed the source code to literally what, 99% of your clients? How many of your clients are using Macs of those 2,000, right? Like 12?
Yeah, not many. I know.
So,
I
mean, just because you're not using SolarWinds MSP products doesn't mean this doesn't affect or impact you or your clients. And I think that's the thing that we need to remember is they now know everything about us, whether we realize it or not. Like they probably they breached so many companies. They've got all of our personally identifiable information. They've got it all. They know what size pants you're wearing right now.
Right.
They know how many socks you're missing in your drawer. Like,
well, I gave a talk one time about hacking and IT and that type of thing, and one of the things I said is I think the general public needs to just assume that their data is already out there, and they need to take steps to keep that from being used against them. Okay, so I think your medical data, a lot of other data that you have on you, has already been hacked somewhere. You could have company A do a really good job of keeping your data protected, and the same data is over here at company B and it gets hacked. So it doesn't matter how good company A is, company B wasn't watching, didn't have the right security in there and it got hacked. So I think, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I'll bet you there's databases in Russia and China that have all of our names on there, all of our social security numbers, all of our medical information, all of our banking information. And I just think it's there, and you need to really watch your finances, make sure you're not charged for something that you don't know what it is. And also, LifeLock and some services like that, it may not be the best one, but you need to have something that lets you know that somebody applied for a loan using your social security number. Somebody applied for an operation using your Medicare number or your health insurance number. Okay.
I didn't even think, like, people can do that, like loans, credit cards, that kind of stuff. Sure, but like medical, like.
Well,
wow.
There was a thing on 60 Minutes a couple of years ago. One of the biggest scams out there right now, and it's so big at that time anyway. It was so big that guys that were selling drugs stopped selling drugs and started doing this. What they do is they steal Social Security and Medicare information from doctors' offices. Okay, then they go out Medicare is so big and there's so many people in it that they will go out there and say, oh, let's say you were 75 years old, Steve, and you needed a hip replacement. Okay. They got your Social Security information and your Medicare information. And they go, we know Steve is an older guy. He probably needs a hip operation. So we're going to do fake documents and submit them to Medicare and say, this is, Steve's whatever, or this is a $10,000 wheelchair for Steve. And they make the request for Medicare for payment and they get paid. And you never saw it, you never had it, whatever. And there was some senator, I saw in the interview, some senator that was in charge of this whole, investigation inside the Senate. He was an older guy and he looked at his own Medicare records and some company had charged him something very expensive. So that's Medicare fraud, and it's rampant is what I've heard. Now, this was a few years ago. Maybe they clamped down on it better, but there was a bunch of places down near Miami where they had some corrupt person that was giving licenses to all these phony companies, and they were just charging stuff like crazy. And all they have to know is your information, and then they charge your Medicare account.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. And so that's a big thing. And usually when there's tons of money and there's not enough direct oversight and there's constant money flowing in and out, that's where a lot of fraud happens because it doesn't get noticed. You would have to notice it on your own Medicare things like, oh, by the way, I never got this. I never ordered it. You know what I mean? And the money's long gone by then. So medical information, that's what they're after. I mean, that's or somehow you get a notification that somebody in Texas and you live in Florida is getting ready to have an operation and they're using your medical identity. And so
this is all like why I'll just pay for a house with a credit card. That way Visa or MasterCard covers me. Like,
right. I know. But and there's things you can do. You just need to be very aware of what's going on under your name as much as possible. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, LifeLock, I don't know if it's a good one or not. It's cheap. And so I signed up for it a while ago. And I got a notification a couple of days ago that the title on my house was just changed. And because we sold our house, it was good that I got a notification that the title was showed a new owner. You know what I mean? And so it's important that you know that kind of stuff. So
it is. All right. Well, let's go to something a little lighthearted and fun. Apple or Android?
My history with Apple is not good. So I'm an Android guy all the way.
I asked because it looked like you were wearing some type of smartwatch, but it was not an Apple Watch.
No,
I was thinking maybe it's just a Fitbit.
It's a Fitbit. I love it though. It tells me every night exactly how many hours of sleep I got, how much REM sleep I got, how much deep sleep I got. I love it.
Oh.
It really is nice. The Fitbit Versa, an excellent little watch, and you sleep every night, and you can wake up in the morning, bring up your phone, it tells you exactly how long you slept, whether you got good REM sleep, whether you got good deep sleep. It's really nice. Really, really nice.
Now,
so did you wake up?
How often you got to charge that thing?
What's cool about this is that this one, that's what I like about the Versa. I literally only put it on the charger when I'm in the shower. I charge it 30 minutes a day. That's it. Because you wear it.
Take really long showers.
Yeah, well, maximum.
I yell at my kids for taking showers that long, man.
I take it off and get out of the shower and get dressed. One of the last things I do is put my watch on. So that's about 30 minutes. Okay? But the cool thing is that it's light and it's I'm trying to get the picture here. It's light and it's not a big watch. So you wear it to bed at night, and on the back of it, it's got a little heart rate sensor. You can see the little flash on the thing. And so somehow it knows if you're asleep or not. And I swear it's accurate. And it will also track if did you go into deep sleep or everybody needs a certain amount of REM and deep sleep every night. And it's important to know that you're getting that. So that's really what I love about it. It tells you exactly how many steps you took today and all that stuff. So I really enjoyed it. It's been a good little watch.
So me, on the other hand, I'm on the completely opposite spectrum of you. I'm an Apple fanboy, some would call me. Some might even say I have a problem, which in fact, I hear Apple has an announcement today.
Uh-huh.
Let's take a look.
They're donating some money somewhere. I heard that.
Apple launches major new racial equity or equality?
Yeah, they're going to
Racial
start some
equity?
schools up in Detroit where they're helping inner city kids uh, become programmers and stuff, which they should have done that 30 years ago. I mean, maybe they have done it, but they're making some more direct initiatives. I read that this morning.
And not that I don't love that they're doing this. I'm just disappointed that it's not a new product.
Good product.
That's why I only just like, oh, they didn't launch, a new MacBook with the new M2 processor or the AirTags that I've been waiting for a year for or whatever, like that's me. Like, not that I love that they're doing this. I do. I
Right.
just I'm selfish too.
Yeah.
So I just
Well, let me ask you this:
but
did you grow up with Apple? Did you grow up with Apple?
I didn't. So
Interesting.
I got my first Apple computer in oh 06, oh 07, in
Okay.
that time frame. And that, like, right around when they like kind of switched over to Intel,
Okay.
or shortly after, I should say, I
Okay.
got a MacBook, not even a Pro, just a MacBook,
Yeah.
and I was really enthralled with it. I was enthralled with it. It was amazing.
Mesmerized.
I was,
Well,
and
it's a good product. It is a good product for a personal computer. They're excellent. Some of my techs have them. Okay. I grew up in a time, again, mainframe computer, then the microcomputer. The first time I saw the Apple Lisa, who knows what that is? I was blown out of my chair. That was the forerunner to the original Macintosh. Okay. The Apple Lisa, it cost $10,000. It was as big as a monitor. It was enormous and very deep. It
wow,
was heavy, it was huge, and it was expensive, and it wasn't very fast. But it had a graphical
nothing was
user
back
interface.
then.
It had a graphical user interface. It was the only thing on the market that had a graphical user interface. Everything
Hmm.
else was character based. Everything else was DOS. This is before Windows came out. So it was made a huge impact, but it was incredibly expensive. Okay. So then they eventually came out with a little Macintosh. Okay. And all the hardcore PC guys didn't like them because they were very weak. It did a lot of cute things. Okay. But it was not a business machine. You could not run accounting on it. You could not, there's a million things you could not do on it. Okay. So a lot of us formulated our attitudes about Apple way back then. I tried to adopt Apple once. I got a, what was the little music thing you had? The iPod.
iPod.
I got an iPod. I got one at a trade show. At a trade show, I got an iPod, and it had all the talks on there that were given out at that trade show, or they were given at the trade show. I said, this is exciting because I have them all. And I'm such a nerd. I had a laptop mounted in my car. Okay, I actually, just like a policeman, I actually had a laptop mounted in my car. So I'm driving home from the conference, and I said, by God, this is great because I want to start listening to the talks that I missed. So I stick the iPod, I connect it to my laptop, and I already had iTunes on my laptop. Okay, because back then that was the only way you could get music or whatever. I just had it, and so it says, "Do you want to integrate this iPod onto your iTunes or whatever?" And I thought that was what I was doing. I
Oh
clicked
no,
yes, and then
and
the
it erased it all.
iPod erased everything on there. I took that thing out and threw it in the floorboard. I said, "That's the last Apple product I will ever buy." And so that is the last Apple product I ever bought, except my wife's and my daughter's cell phones.
So I'll say this: the event that you went to set that thing up incorrectly.
I can believe that would be true. Yes. Yeah.
So because of that, you shouldn't be mad at Apple because somebody else did something they shouldn't have done with an Apple product and then gave it to you as a gift.
That's a good point. That is a good point. No, I agree. Hey, it's a great tool. It's a great product. I would love if the whole world was agnostic in that you could just use whatever you wanted. There are big companies that have good IT that you can walk in there. Do you want an Apple or do you want a PC? Which one do you want to use? All of our company software will work on it. Everything will work great. You can print to every printer in here. You can VPN into anything. You can do, and they both work exactly the same, or they both work. They're little different setups, but they both work fine. And the whole IT department does not mind supporting both environments. But
Right.
that is a unrealistic world. Very few places work like that. Okay. So every time we have a customer that wants to bring Macintoshes in, and sometimes they just do, by God, they're going to get in there no matter what. And then suddenly they can't print to the big copier, or they can't do this, or they can't do that. And they complain and they whine and they moan. And that to me is what makes me not like them. Okay. Because if they're so great, this is one opinion I have, and don't shoot me if you're a Mac guy. They're great products. If they're so great, then how come I've been doing this for 30 years and I have never walked into a company that is all Macintosh that wasn't some graphic design firm or something like that? They're just not prevalent in the business environment. They're just not there. So I think Apple could have made inroads that way, but they didn't do it. I don't know why. They really didn't. So now, I know people that work at some big companies. They give them an iPad. I mean, they give them Apple laptop. But as more and more things go online, it isn't going to be that big of a difference between the Apple and the PC, what you use, because everything's going to be online, so it doesn't really matter. But you're in a business environment, in businesses that have servers or big copiers and all that kind of stuff, they assume you have a PC. So that's my opinion.
So I'm sorry if I seem distracted. Apparently, there's construction going on that way. That way, and I had no idea, and
I can't hear it, so
no, that's fine. It's not even they're doing something where it's like a boom, boom.
Oh, they're hammering giant. They're building a freeway anywhere near you?
No, it's over by some condos.
Okay, they may be driving pylons into the ground.
Something I don't know. I mean, they could just be doing something basic. I don't know, but with everything going on, I'm like, oh my gosh, are we under attack? Are these bombs? Are these shotguns? Or what's happening?
What's happening?
Like, so I'm texting my wife frantically. She's like, everything is okay. Calm down.
So she's the calm. I want to say hi to my friend David Modab. I think he's watching right now. So, hey, David, how you doing, buddy? He's the one that introduced us, by the way.
Do you think he's watching right now?
I think he texted me. I've ever been on here and said, "Hey, I'm seeing you guys right now."
Oh, well, hey, Dave, how you doing, man? So every now and then I pop into a Zoom with Dave and some other buddies, and we used to all hang out together in Zoom all day, every day, and somehow we got work done.
I don't know how. I know how. I can tell you that.
I mean, it's nice when you're, a sole proprietor,
right?
And you just need somebody to talk to or bounce ideas off of, or
I get that.
Heck, with everything going on right now, man, I've got some times where I'm just lonely.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah,
I mean, COVID being locked up and everything, I understand that. When I first started as a sole proprietor, I was by myself. Within a year, I'd hired my first employee, but my goal was billable hours every day. And this was before managed services. Okay, so I wanted to be out there, and this was in '99. ISDN connections, frame relay connections. Finally DSL started coming online. Internet connections sucked back then. Okay, you could send email, do a little bit of web browsing, and that was about it. Okay, so if you had a problem, I pretty much had to come to your desk. It wasn't, it was not much remoting in. So as a sole proprietor, I was always on the road. I'd leave my house every morning early and come back at dark sometimes I'd get, 8, 9, 10 hours a day of billable time. And that was very profitable. So today,
was it at like 100 an hour like it is today?
Well, I started at 75 an hour in 1999. We went from 75 to 85 to 95 to 105 to 115 to 125 to 135 to 155, and that's where we are. That's over 21 years. Okay, so I don't do home computers. We only do business networks. We'll do a home computer if it's part of a business network, or if it's COVID, you got to go home and work. We will do that. Okay, but we don't 99% of the time, we do not work on home machines unless it's a person I know. Hey, can you help me with my laptop? Whatever. It had to be a friend before I did that. So I know a lot of providers do both.
What about like, CEO of a client? You'll probably just do whatever it takes to help them out.
Well, and he won't let you not do it. He goes, if I'm going to have you do my network, you're going to do my home computer as well. I said, okay, but you're going to pay for that home computer too. You're going to pay our managed service fee on the home computer. So they don't usually have a problem with that.
Now, are these CEOs that you're working with these days, are they starting to ask you guys for bigger, badder networks? Like, now we've got like the Eero and the Plume and all these fancy mesh wireless networking environments because of just all the stuff and all the the size of the homes and all that, or smart home stuff with.
Yeah, I haven't. We have set up a couple of decent sized wireless networks in homes. I haven't done them myself. I mean, my techs do them. We usually use Data or Unify, access points. I haven't done any complicated wireless networks. I know that there are people that do, and I know that there are sometimes you have to do a campus, a whole bunch of buildings and all that stuff, and you need to do all the proper things to make it all work right. It's not an expertise that I have personally, and my guys have set up some pretty good size buildings, big churches. We've done big Wi-Fi in big churches, and but I'll be the first to admit I don't know everything about it. I know that if you have a good mesh, then the access points talk to each other, and they can fail over or whatever, and it's just. But to me, what is amazing is that everybody expects free Wi-Fi today. I mean, even in church, good Lord. I mean, I would think if you're in a church service or any kind of service, you should be watching the service, not playing around on your phone. I mean, I don't know why we have to give them free Wi-Fi.
Oh, what's so, I don't know where you're at with this. So I am the tech director at my church as well. So I'm basically responsible for making sure the audio at the front of house, the videos, all of our cameras, and then we've got a broadcast audio, broadcast video. We've got computer automation. We've got lighting. I'm responsible for making sure all this stuff works without fail. And one of these days it won't fail. Every single Sunday, something goes wrong. Now, sometimes it's just something simple like the lyrics never changed from song 2 to song 3. Other times it's like, hey, the whole computer just crashed and we don't have any music anymore.
Right.
Like, so
remind me to tell you. Keep going.
We have all of this stuff that we're doing, and the thing that blows my mind is, we're a mobile church, so we have to set up and tear down every week in a high school, and because of that, we don't have like hard Ethernet wires going all over the place, and we're using like wireless video, wireless, all kinds of wireless. Like if it weren't for the fact that we were using a really, really expensive room, we would have a lot of interference, and all of our cost-effective gear that we purchased would not be working well. And that's one thing that, like getting into that. I'm also a musician, but like I'm not a professional musician. Like I play bass and a little guitar, a little drums. I sing, that kind of stuff. But I wasn't trained. I never went on the road. None of that. So I knew enough to be dangerous to be able to do the sound part. I just kind of picked up how to do the rest of it. I just kind of wing it most weekends. Everyone thinks I know what I'm doing. It's amazing. So the crazy thing though is like, all of the equipment that we're using, like none of it's stuff that like you or I would be using for our MSP, but it ends up being like the same concept. Like, could you use a Terra or Synchro as your RMM and PSA? Sure, but there are limitations that you would end up running into, and it wouldn't integrate as nicely with, the Datto BDRs and the Datto networking and all the other stuff that you use that
Mhm.
Datto integrates with.
Mhm.
And that's kind of the stuff that we're starting to run into now is, we'll buy the entry level or maybe the next level up, and we're starting to realize, oh, we need like 3 tiers higher
Mhm.
to actually have all of this stuff work together.
Mhm. Yeah, that's a
So
challenge.
it's not just IT and all of that just to say we end up utilizing the school's Wi-Fi for church,
Mhm.
and then all of the people that are showing up to church then want to hop on the Wi-Fi, and that can really screw up our stream.
Exactly. But you may have to say, guys, you can't get on this. I'm sorry, please don't get on it. But they're probably going to try. Or if they got on it once, the phone's going to automatically hit it again if they're not thinking about it. But
The school has been super awesome. They ended up giving us access to a different network, and we have no limitations. So we've got
oh,
like
that's great.
80 meg per second upload,
Yeah,
and
well, that's
everyone else has like zero point 0.1 megabit per
yeah.
second upload. It's
I applaud
hilarious.
your commitment. I mean, because I know you probably have to get there an hour or two early to make sure all this is working. Especially you have to set it all up every week and take it back down 3 hours early. Jeez, and I'm sure it's a volunteer position.
Yep.
So, that's just the commitment. I mean, when somebody goes to their synagogue, mosque, church, whatever it is, you know, today our society has been so, I don't know, spoiled. Everybody wants everything to work perfect. Everything wants everything to look great and sound great and constantly, be a, I don't want to say entertainment, but at the same time, it's just got to look good and sound good. So it's a lot of work to make all that stuff happen.
Hmm.
Hey, I know what that feels like at a very minimal scale from what you're doing. I'm in a Toastmasters group. It's a public speaking group,
Yeah.
and I lost a Zoom thing. Anyway, I'm in a Toastmasters public speaking group, and when COVID started last year, they're like, we got to go. I said, well, we can go on Zoom, guys. I can show everybody how to do it. So we had 40 people on Zoom every Friday morning. And then Florida, where I live, started opening back up a little bit, and we decided to go back in meeting in person. But then there was a bunch of people, elderly people or whatever, that said, I just can't come in. Can we do a hybrid meeting? Now, same kind of thing. We go to a community center for this small town near where I live, and they have internet in there, but that's it. And so we have to bring this giant TV in, hook up a laptop, have a microphone, and you've also got to broadcast the person speaking who's facing the crowd, and so is the TV is also facing the crowd. So you have to have two things to broadcast, and we had to figure all of that out, like, very quickly, how to do a hybrid Zoom meeting, which no one had hardly ever done. So we have to bring that equipment in there every single week, and we finally bought a big TV that the organization owned, and and it was just, and a guy ended up mounting a small PC on the back of it, so we can literally come in and just turn it on, and he put a sound bar attached to the back of it as well, so it's all in one thing. So we can bring it in, turn on a power switch, and the PC comes up, the sound bar comes up, and Zoom is right here on the screen. Just double click on Zoom, and we're in, and we're working. So that saves a lot of setup time. But the pressure of getting that done before the meeting starts every week is enormous. And I was doing it for a long time because I really committed to the group and I really wanted it to work. And for weeks, I did it by myself. And finally, I said, guys, I can't keep doing this by myself because I can't make it every week. So another person is swapping off with me now. So I know that feeling, even though my setup is like 20 minutes and your setup is 3 hours. I still know that feeling of this has got to work because
Oh,
everybody's got to be here soon.
and I've got like 11 other volunteers working with me.
Sure. That even makes it harder sometimes. That even makes it harder sometimes because you got to watch all them.
No, no, no. Well, the cool thing is, for a long time it was, I felt like I had to like own everything.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying I don't like own, like, I understand it's still like my responsibility, so to
Right.
speak. But what I'm trying to do right now is I'm empowering them to start troubleshooting some of the stuff themselves.
Yeah.
Because, like, okay, sure, the lyrics are off, but it really wouldn't be that hard for you to click here, hold shift, click there, and then drag everything over 3/4 notes so it lines up better, or whatever, like.
Well, you want to hear a quick story. About a year ago, I'm helping set up. I'm in this group, and they asked me to come set up for this thing, and there was a choir speaking up on the stage, singing up on the stage. So I helped set up all the chairs, stuff like that, and then it was just about to start. Within 5 minutes, it was about to start, and they said, "Aren't you a computer guy?" And I said, "Yes." They said, "Can you come up here to the front?" I went up there. The guy fixing to do all the lyrics up on the screen had to leave. And what is he using? A Macintosh. And they sit me down in front of it, and he gives me about 10 seconds of instruction and says, "I got to go." So I'm doing what you're describing. I'm trying to get the lyrics up there, and I screwed it up a couple times, but I was able to get. But it made me think. You know what? I need to learn. I at least need to learn how to use one of these things.
So, are they using a Pro Presenter? Do you know?
I think that's what it was. Yeah. And oh my God.
I don't. Do you like serve at a church or anything like that?
No, not right now. But this was a volunteer thing that I was doing, and they asked me. I mean, I go, but I don't do any of that work at the church. And so they asked. He just asked me. Our church was asked to set up this outdoor thing. So all the men in the church, we set up all the chairs, all this stuff, and then at the last minute, when it was about to start, they said, and it was a combination of like 3 churches who were doing this together. It was like this little downtown area. So it was just like a night of music, and literally it's about to start. When the IT guy who was going to run the screens, the music guy, he was a music guy. He said, "I have to go. I can't do this." I mean, something came up, his family or something. And literally I got 30 seconds of training, and then suddenly the whole thing started. And I'm like,
how many mistakes did you make?
Well, it wasn't that bad. The hardest thing was keeping up with the music and getting the next lyric up there. And then you had to change songs. And that was, I was trying to remember how he showed me how to do that. And I was like, oh my God. And I was a lot of divine intervention, but somehow it happened.
So I remember when they asked me to do because I was a volunteer. I was playing bass for them for a while.
Right.
So, depending on your view, like here, if I do this, like now people can see my bass right there. So, of course, here. Now we're back where we belong. All right. So, so yeah, they're like, yeah, can you do this? And I'm thinking to myself, it shouldn't be that hard. I'm like, oh, like this actually does have a degree of difficulty because sometimes it's not just can you click the space bar, but you have to do it like in time with music.
Right.
So so you almost need to be a musician to be able to run some of the technology that they've got there. Yeah,
that's for sure. Yeah. Cool.
So most churches run Apple products.
Yes, that is true. All the churches we've supported over the years, the music guy is always going to have an Apple, and he wants to use it in the morning. Yeah.
And the neat thing is now, like everyone, they're like, well, let's just everyone, we'll just get everyone a MacBook or a iMac or whatever they need. I love it. We're talking on my MacBook right now.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous. Like I've got an i7 with 32 gigs of RAM and a terabyte solid state. How much would that cost to get somebody that from like Dell or HP or whoever you use? Like 1,600 maybe?
Well, it depends on what you're getting with it, but yeah, it could be. But what you pay?
Just the laptop.
If it's, I'm thinking desktop. Anywhere, I don't know. Honestly, I don't. There's just too many.
We'll call it 3 years of Pro Support Plus too.
What size screen?
16.
16. It's usually 14, 15, or 17. I don't. I've seen anywhere from 1,200 to 2,200. I mean, it all depends on who's making it and the options. $500. $1,000. Yeah, sure. Well, I mean,
just to have a half-eaten fruit on the cover of that thing.
Yeah. You know what that fruit really is supposed to represent? is like that's the apple that Eve bit. From Adam. Adam gave her the apple. She bit that, and it was supposed to be kind of a mockery of that. Research that. You might find that interesting. Yeah. So I heard that one. I don't know if it's true, but I heard it.
So you're saying that my laptop is the forbidden fruit? My laptop is the creator of
or it's the mockery of something. I don't know. It could be a conspiracy theory. I have no idea, but I just heard that one time.
No, the creator of sin.
I have Apple stock. Okay, it's a good company. Okay, I bought some Apple stock in 2009 before the first iPhone came out, and you can imagine how it went. I wish I'd had more money to buy more, but I didn't have it at the time. But
how many do you have? Like one share?
No, I have a few. But when we sold our house this last year, we had about 7 months before our new house was going to be ready. So I had to put my money in the bank, just sit there and make no money, or invest. And I bought some Apple stock, and I bought some Zoom stock, and a few other things. And it did really well. So, but I bought it right before the pandemic, and then suddenly it went like that. And then I had to sell it because I was like, I can't lose all this money. It's what I'm going to use to buy my house. So I ended up selling it and just holding it. And then when the stock market started coming back up, I bought again. But I rode the wave long enough to where I made some pretty good money. So
good for you.
That was nice. Yeah.
I'm enjoying my I've got like a 76% return on my Tesla stock.
Yeah, I was going to say Tesla. Absolutely.
I've got a colleague who's got a return that's in like the thousands percent.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I'm guessing like 3,000-4,000%.
Yeah.
Because he bought it, years ago when it was like 100 something a share.
Yeah.
And I have no idea how many shares he has.
Yeah. Tesla was terrible stock to buy for years. And all of a sudden, it just exploded. I mean, literally exploded. I think the truck coming out, the SpaceX being successful, all the other things that kind of align, the stars finally aligned for Tesla. And they say it's overrated right now, but I don't care. I've got a bunch of it. Okay. So in a retirement account, I have a self-directed retirement account that I can sell and buy stock in. And, I bought it when it was doing this number. I wish I'd have bought it here, but I bought it about there, but now it's gone to there, And so it's at least, I've done 100% on it at least. So
one thing I'll recommend to everyone watching, no matter what age you are, you're never too young to start investing.
Absolutely.
All right. So, I'm still in my 30s. Tim here is in his 20s. So we have been intelligent with our money, right? So
you have to
be real intelligent with our money up until what, 30, 40 years old.
Right.
So so I now have money go into savings every week, and then I have money go into investments every week.
Good.
Weekly.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So I'm dumping, let's call it like 10-15% of my income into investments every week. And right now I'm putting it all into like T-Mobile, Tesla, and a few other things. And I'm just loving watching that number get bigger. Mm-hmm. Even if I don't put something in, the number just keeps getting bigger. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But right. You really should. And, obviously talk to your accountant, CPA, and figure out the right way to do this type of stuff for you. We're not financial advisors. We're not allowed to give you advice, blah, blah, blah. So, but you should be doing something to secure your financial future.
Absolutely.
And maybe buy some Bitcoin, because who knows, with the state of things, that might be our new currency in a few years.
Yeah, but who would have known it would have gone as high as Bitcoin did? I had an employee that left a number of years ago, and he was starting to buy Bitcoin. He started making so much money, he didn't have to work anymore. Can you believe that? And he's trying to get me into it, and I was like, I'm not doing that. That sounds too crazy to me.
I know a guy who currently owns 88 Bitcoin.
Wow.
88.0 Bitcoin.
What is it trading for right now?
It's worth $3 million.
Yeah.
All of them combined is worth $3 million. Now, obviously, that's what it was worth yesterday. It actually has gone down. So it peaked at like 40 something in the last Yeah, for 40,000, 41,000 in the last week ish. And now it's back down to 35.8.
Mm-hmm. I remember when it was $100 or less of Bitcoin. So
Oh my gosh. A
yeah.
programmer has $240 million of Bitcoin locked in a hard drive and only 2 password guesses left to access it.
That's crazy. That's crazy. Well,
Oh my gosh.
one of the passions in my life is definitely I love investing, and also I've done some traveling overseas. But my consulting practice helping small MSPs is what I really enjoy doing. I love doing that because a lot of guys are struggling. They don't know what to do next, or should they even start their own MSP? There's a lot of people looking into this and
Yeah.
saying, should I even do this? And when I wrote my book, the first chapter was, should you do this? Should you start your own company? Okay. And I actually get into, now this is what it's really going to be like. Okay. You need to go in this with your eyes wide open. What kind of family situation do you have right now? What kind of this do you have? Do you have some money saved up? Do you have this? Do you have that? And if you have some clients lined up, are you working at an MSP right now and you want to try to steal some clients? No, do not do that. Okay. You need to get everything lined up before you go out there on your own. You will increase your chance of success significantly if you do that. I will say this, one thing about being an MSP, it's very unlikely that you will go out of business. Something like 95% of new small businesses do not succeed. Now, you may not make the money that you want to make. If you do the right things, you can, but it is a very, I want to say, stable profession as far as at least make enough money to pay yourself. Okay. So when you think about the success rate of MSPs, they may not be as successful as they want to be, but they didn't go out of business either. Okay. It is a good profession to be in. It's a profession where you can make a lot of money, but you have to think about marketing. You have to think about hiring people. You have to think about running the business. You cannot just be a good technician and be a successful MSP. It just doesn't work like that. Okay. You have to think about all the other things. I've been doing this 21 years. I don't touch a computer anymore except the one at my desk. And I'm responding to customers and employees and, potential customers, things like that. I'm not out fixing machines. I'm not installing machines. I'm not setting up servers anymore. And if that's your passion and you really love doing that, and you have a hard time doing administrative work and you feel like you can't do it, then maybe you need to remain a technician wherever you are. Work for a good company, work for a good MSP, work for somebody that treats you well and appreciates your services. But to go out on your own, it takes some more knowledge than just being technical. And you need somebody to help you, okay? There were no coaches available when I started. I finally met James Kernan around 2006 or 7. James is a great guy. He's been a good friend of mine ever since. And he does some coaching with me. And he's been my coach for a very long time. And so I'm a coach, and I even have a coach, okay? So I really believe in that. Even if you're a one-man band, I've helped a lot of one-man bands really grow their practices, okay? And most of you that are individuals, I will tell you that your limitation is mostly right here. It's how you think about things, okay? If you can get a different perspective on your business and yourself and what you're worth, then you can really grow your business, okay? And that, to me, is the most important thing.
And I just want to say that, starting a company, some people think it sounds super easy. Some people think it sounds super hard. The people that think it sounds super easy aren't thinking of everything.
You know,
They're not realizing that, okay, yeah, I'm a great technician, but I also need to be able to sell. I also need to be able to collect on invoices that are past due.
right?
I need to be able to negotiate terms with vendors. There's a lot that goes into this.
Yep.
And the people that are thinking it sounds way too hard, either they're right or they're overthinking it.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take, that's for sure. But if you've got the expertise, first of all, you have to know how to do the work. Okay. No technician is going to want to report to a manager that doesn't know what they're doing, has never done what he's asking that tech to do. Okay. I really believe you need to know how to do about 90%. Now, have I set up an Exchange server from scratch? No, I haven't. I set up a lot of other things before I started owning the company and doing more and more of the administrative and leadership work and sales work. But I know exactly what it does. And I know exactly, I've set up other servers. I know how to configure a lot of firewalls. I know how to do most of the things my guys do. They can do them faster and better than I can now, but I did them all myself for a long time. But there's a lot more to running a business than just the technical part, as Steve was saying. It is hard, but it can be very rewarding. When you put your heart and soul into keeping a client happy and working well, and you get paid well for that, it's nice. You want to take a couple of days off? Okay, if you have a couple of technicians that work for you and they can cover for you, you can do that. No one's going to tell you you can't go over here, you can't go over there, you can't go over here. And there's something that's a misnomer though. People say, "Oh, own your own business, be your own boss." It is exactly the opposite.
Now you have 30 bosses.
Now you have exactly what I was going to say. Now you have 30 bosses. They're called your clients. Okay, they are going to tell you what to do. Now you'll be happy to do it because they're paying you. Okay, but the nice thing is, if you're owning your own business, is that if you don't like them anymore, you can say, you know what, I think this isn't working out. I think our relationship here is I'm going to help you find a better MSP to meet your needs. Okay, and some of you should definitely drop some of the people you're working with if they are driving you bananas. Okay, and not paying you enough, which is typically the people that drive you bananas. They don't pay enough and they complain about everything. Look at how much time and energy and effort and angst they're giving you, and you should not be working with them. Absolutely not. Well, they're my biggest client. Guess what? If you freed up 60% of your day, how many more clients could you get? Okay, they're not worth it. Or you go in and you dramatically raise your price. You say you've got to get on a managed service contract. I'm not going to take calls after hours, or if I do, it's going to be, I'm doubling my normal rate. And anybody else that takes them on is going to want to do that. So always be wary when you go in to take on a client when you're the fifth IT firm they've worked with in 4 years. Be very wary of that client because I promise you they're not going to like you either. You might be able to make them happy, but it's very unlikely. So if you see that kind of situation, say, well, I'll take you on if we do this and this and this and this and this. But if you're not willing to do that, I can't take you on. Okay, so that's a good way to get out of a bad situation, or never get one started. The best way to get out of a bad situation is never get into the bad situation. Okay, but yeah, an MSP, being an MSP is a great field. There's a lot of change always coming, but technical guys like change. We like learning new stuff. We like seeing new things. Okay, if you can't handle new things, you should not be in this business. When I was a mainframe programmer in college, learning how to program on the mainframe, I hate to admit this, we had punch cards. Okay, that's how you interacted with the computer. You literally wrote your program one line at a time. One card was one line of code. You had an 80-line program. You had 80 cards. You went over and you fed them in the card reader, and then the mainframe printer would spit out on the green bar paper your program, and then the results of your program. Okay, so I was mesmerized by that when I was in college. I loved it, but it is you have to be able to learn new things. You have to be able to learn new things, and look at how much we've had to learn even in the last 10 years. Okay, so the internet wasn't even invented when I started. So it's just that joy of learning new things, things like that. But time management, the people that I consult with, one of the biggest things that I think that they need to improve on is time management. Okay, they can spend way too much time doing things that don't progress their company. Okay, I know Steve talked about he's on a video chat with guys all day long, whatever. That's fine if you're getting your work done, you need somebody to talk to, you have questions, you have answers. But if you're just sitting there listening instead of doing work that you should be doing somewhere else, that's probably not the best use of your time. Okay, so be thinking about that. Time is the one thing that everybody on the planet has exactly the same amount of, is time. And you can't expand it, you can't speed it up. You're only given a certain amount every day, and you only have a certain number of hours a day of energy to do things. So you've got to make that the most productive time Look at the things that pay you the most money, is the most productive for you, and spend most of your time doing that. Okay? Instead of things that don't make you money and blah, blah, blah. Well, this is easier. I want to go do this. Yeah, well, that's fine. Go do that. Okay? And at the end of the month, when you didn't make enough money and you spent 20 hours in that month doing this, it didn't make you any money, didn't get you anywhere, then maybe you need to rethink how you're spending your time. So time management and the way you think about yourself are two things that I see that I help people with the most. I think that's one of the things I help people with the most, and improve their practices and help them make more money.
So let's talk about how you help people for a minute. I know you have timtaylorconsulting.com.
Yep.
And I see if we click on services, you've got the one-to-one business consulting. And there's a nice long list of things that people get by working with you. That
Yeah.
you got weekly coaching tips, sales and engineering tools, business plan, marketing plan review, templates, campaigns, unlimited emails and emergency phone calls with coach, compensation plan review. I assume that's compensating yourself
And your employees. Yeah.
Okay. Financial review and comparison, telling us how good or bad we are financially.
Right.
Business assessment, and that's probably looking at more than just finances, but that's the overall state of our MSP. And then MP3s of each session for us to review. So that way, when we forget what Tim said, you don't have to send him the unlimited emails and emergency phone calls. You can just reference it.
Yeah.
So that's a lot.
Well, it is, and not everybody takes advantage of all of those things. Obviously, you don't have to do them. I record every session if the person wants me to. So, listen, if I record it on MP3 and I have this large file transfer thing with my email through Mimecast, and then when I send that, I can have it notify me that they downloaded the document or not. Okay, and so if I'm sending MP3s to somebody and they're not ever downloading them and listening to them, then I ask, do you want me to continue to send you these? You don't have to. If we're doing a Zoom call, we can click on record and have the whole Zoom call recorded. Okay, so It depends on how much time that they want to spend. Now, I send a nice email after a consultation of here's all the points that we talked about. Okay, and I try to challenge that person. All right, before we talk again next month or next week, I have two different plans. What are your goals? What do you want to try to accomplish before we talk again? Okay, and I'll put that in the email. And sometimes these are, make sure I call this or do that or look at this. Okay, they're not huge tasks, but there's something you can realistically get done before we talk again. So that's part of my job as a coach, is to help hold you accountable. I'm not sitting there to beating you over the head. I'm just saying, look, we were going to try to do this. Were you able to get to that? Well, no. Well, what was holding you up? What can I help you get over to get that done? Okay. And an awful lot of this is really organization, how you have the company organized. And, do you have some kind of a marketing plan? What are you doing to get new clients? Okay. You've got to be doing something, even if it's simple as print out a brochure about your company, staple your business card to it, and go to all the businesses within 5 miles of your office, of your home, wherever you're working from. Okay. Hand it out. Walk into a business and there's a receptionist sitting there. There's all these business cards of people that work there. Okay. Hey, I do the IT for so-and-so right around the corner over here. I just want to give you some information about the company. Not trying to sell you anything right now, but if you could hand that off to your manager of the office, I'd love it. So I don't waste anybody's time while I'm standing here. Could you just kind of tell me about how many computers you have in the company? Receptionist says, I don't know. We said, well, how many employees do you have? Is it 100? No, we have 23. Well, you probably have 23 computers. Okay. Do you have like a little server room back there? Yeah, we have a server room. You might have asked who does your IT now? Well, then, I'd love to just reach out to your manager sometime. Just send her a quick email. Is this her business card up here? Great. What have you just done? You walked in there, you made a little relationship with the receptionist. You were nice. You gave her some information about your company. You found out how big they were. You found out, do they have a server? Do they have somebody you're competing against? You found out all that information in about 2 minutes. Okay, or 5 minutes or whatever. And you hopefully found the name of the person you need to talk to. Okay, So you would be amazed if you do enough of those drop-ins in your area, or pay somebody to do it for you. Okay, you would be really surprised what could happen from that. You walk in the door, our system just crashed yesterday. Can you help us? Okay, whatever. And then you can take all that, all that information, start building a database, email people, do a MailChimp account, things like that. I'm talking really, really simple stuff. Anybody can do this for almost no money. Okay. And then as you grow and whatever, you can buy a list of names, you can hire a person to make calls for you, to make appointments, and blah, blah, blah. So, there's all kinds of things that you can do. You can go online, you can spend a little money with, social media marketing or SEO on your own website. There's a billion companies out there that will help you do all this. So do what you can afford to do, but just that typical shoe leather marketing, getting out there, going into the areas around where your office is, and just go into a building and just stop by every office. I'm not soliciting, I'm just giving out information. I'm not standing here trying to sell you some trinket. I'm handing out information about my company. That's all I'm doing. Okay? You'd be amazed how many people that you could meet just doing that, especially if you have a client in the building or in the area. And you can say, hey, I'll just take care of so-and-so right over here, and, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? So that kind of stuff works. I walked into a law firm that was right across the hall from my very first client. I walked in the door one day in 1999. I put on my best suit one morning, and I went there and I said, I'm going to go in that law firm. I don't know who works in there. I don't know how many people they have. I don't know anything except it says the name of the law firm outside. I walked in the door and the receptionist was sitting there, and I said, hey, I do the IT for this place right across the hall. And I said, I'm over here all the time. And if you guys have needs, I'd love to be able to help you. I'm sure you have needs every once in a while. And she took my card and she walked around the corner, and I could hear she was talking to the office manager. She came back and said, well, we have somebody, appreciate you coming by. But I knew the office manager could hear me because she wasn't very far away. And I said, well, I just want to let you know I'm over here all the time, because back then people couldn't remote in so easy. So it was hard to get an IT guy to show up. Okay. And so I said, I'm over here all the time, and I'd love to help you guys out, blah, blah, blah. I'm just right across the hall. And then finally the office manager stuck her head out, and then she came outside, and we walked outside of the building. And for the next 45 minutes, all she did was tell me about all the problems they had. Okay. She just said, we're fine. We have somebody. Don't worry about it. Okay. I took over their account. They had 8 machines, and I helped them grow to 50 over the next 3 years. I created their first website. They didn't have email outside the office when I walked in there, if you can believe that. And so basically, but the point was, I walked in and I asked, and you can't be completely afraid of that. I mean, it says no soliciting. That just means you're not going to come in and try to sell them something, but you can give them information and just ask a few questions. And then, if they start getting testy, leave them alone. But you've gotten some information. You got a little bit of feel for the company. So just think about how many companies there are around where you are. And there's nothing wrong with stepping in and doing that. There's nothing.
So how does somebody get started working with you as their coach, consultant, whatever?
All right. All you have to do is just go to timtaylorconsulting.com, and you can fill out a form there, and it'll come to me, or my email address is on there. It's just ttaylor@timtaylorconsulting.com. And my MSP is called Taylor Works. Okay. But if you go to Tim Taylor Consulting, one of the things I encourage people to do, you can order my book right from that site. Okay. Or you can go to Amazon. I'd like for you to read the book. Okay. Because I'm not just trying to sell books, because it's not expensive, but it gives you a perspective on how I think and how that I really started this company, especially if you're just getting started. Okay. Especially if you're just getting started. It's a great idea to read the book. Okay. But all you have to do is reach out. Okay. I have one-on-one consulting where you have time with just me and you, an hour, hour and a half, whatever you need. And that's once a month. Okay. But in between, you can call, email, whatever you need. If you have an emergency, I'll be happy to talk with you. And this is another thing I offer that no other MSPs I know, no other MSP coaches I have, there's not very many coaches out there, offer this, is I have my own staff here of people. And if you are a lone ranger out there and you go in and talk to somebody and they say, well, I don't think your company's big enough to help us. Say, look, well, I've got a team of 11 people behind me. I'm the on-site guy that you're going to see, but I've got a team of 11 people that can help me. I can avail you of my guys' technical resources. Okay. So, we can work out some kind of, if it ends up being big project, we can work out some kind of fee. I mean, basically, you charge them this, I'll charge you that. I'll make sure you make money. That's if you need us. I'm not saying you have to use us, but if you are a one-man band or a small operation, or you don't know how to install something, you don't know how to do something, we can help you. Okay, and we've helped people. I've helped a couple of people learn how to use Autotask better. Okay, and there were people that were converting from ConnectWise to Autotask, and I helped them, explain to them how we did it and what we did and blah blah blah. So I'm happy to do that if I can help you out. I have one guy that I consult with in California, and he had a client that had an old terminal server that was actually set up in somebody's house, and they had to get a new one and move it and all that stuff. And we've got a relationship with a data center here in town, and we spun up the terminal server here. We helped him configure it and everything, and now his clients remoting in from California, and they're all working. So he didn't know how to do that in the cloud. He had no idea how to do it, so we did it for him. We're charging him a flat rate for the terminal server, and he's marking it up to the client. Okay, so basically, we can do stuff like that. And I've got help desk guys, I've got network engineers, and if you have a need, a technical need, and you're one of my consultees, we can help you. All right. And again, if it turns into a big project, we got to charge you something, but we will do that. So just reach out to me, and basically I'll talk with you. I have another consulting plan where it's a weekly call, and it's a certain time of every week, but you're in a group of other people. Okay, so some people like that, but you get that weekly call. Just put it in your calendar. You get an hour a week, and that's a certain fee as well. So both of them are very affordable, even for startups. And again, this is a passion of mine. I love helping people. That's why I wrote the book. That's why I started the consulting practice. And so, just reach out, and I'll reach out to you, and you get to deal with me. I do have another gentleman that works with me that as I get more and more people on, and I can't take a lot more on, he sold his own MSP a couple of years ago, and he works with me as well, and he takes on some of the clients as well. So I can definitely take on, a good number of more people. So happy to do that.
Excellent. So is it the same price for everyone?
It is. The one-on-one consulting with me is a little bit more, and the group consulting is the same price for everybody. Yeah. So it's
what do you
not
charge for the group consulting.
The one-on-one consulting is $400 a month or $399 a month. Okay. And so you get an hour of my time, hour and a half. If you need more, you can call me, email me in between. The guy I'm consulting with in California, he calls me all the time. Okay, and I'm happy to talk to him. I don't have a problem with that. Okay, and then the individual, the group consulting is actually just $297. Okay, $297 a month. Anybody can afford that. You get an hour a week. Okay, of not only just me but the other guys in the group. So I don't care if you're a startup and one of them has been doing it for 5 years, you can glean from both of us. Okay. Yeah. So in the group you get, and you've done groups before, Steve. So in the group, you get groupthink, you get everybody's ideas. Okay. And so, and I'll start up multiple groups. I've got one group right now that's growing. And then when it fills up, I'll start up another one, So, my son is coming up in the company, so he's going to be able to take on more and more responsibilities. I can spend more time consulting, but we're not there yet. But it'll be a little while. But I enjoy doing it, and just reach out, and let's talk. I do an initial call. We can talk for an hour, and you tell me where you're at and what's going on and what you want to do and where you want to be, and I'll tell you whether or not I think I can help you. And I'm pretty sure the answer will be yes, I can help you if you're an MSP or want to be one.
Hey, that's great. Tim, thank you so much for hopping on here, for having I enjoyed our conversation. So thank you for having a great conversation with me. For those of you that are interested in working with Tim Taylor, you can go to timtaylorconsulting.com, and there's a button with just a few fields to schedule a free consultation right there on his website. So feel free to hop on and do that. Meanwhile, you can also go to RocketMSP.io, and you can also see everything that I've got going on there as well. I am working on refreshing the website so that way I can get the podcast calendar up on there, because I have a lot scheduled. I've got like 17 scheduled between now and the end of February, and I'm only doing these on Wednesdays and Thursdays right now. So I'm doing something right, I think, and I'm loving these conversations. I'm having a lot of fun doing it. So keep them coming, guys.
Well, I appreciate it, Steve. You're a great interviewer. I enjoy being with you and your audience, and love to help you guys out if you need me. And I appreciate what you're doing, Steve, exposing people to different things in the IT world and what they need. So appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for hopping on here, Tim. You have yourself a great day, and you too, everyone. I'll see you at the next one.
All right. Thanks, guys.